Today we'll use the example of climate change and talk about what affects young people's perception of climate change in 5 minutes. Previous studies dubbed young people aged under 35 as climate change generation. Compared to the elder generation, young people have grown up with sufficient education and more media attention to climate change. Therefore, they are more familiar with climate change and think that it's somehow an important issue. However, more knowledge and concern don't necessarily translate into action. Studies pointed out 2 key factors that help us to know why. First, the framing of climate change. In media study, framing describes how things are presented in any forms of media. Like taking picture, you can only present a piece of reality from a certain angle. Therefore, frames can be totally different. When receiving information from different frames, the audiences are encouraged to think a topic from different aspects and therefore different perception or ideas form. There are 3 common climate change frames. First, runaway science frame. In this frame of climate change is described as a coming danger or apocalypse and humans cannot turn the tide. Second, morality and ethics frame that can also be called as God frame. It emphasizes a mindset of right and wrong. As God gave humans the earth, humans have responsibility to protect it. Third, social progress frame, which focuses on the role of humans in solving problem and finding a balance between development and nature protection. The second point that helps us to understand young people's inaction is by their perception. There are 3 themes in young people's perception of climate change. First, a sense of helplessness. Young people would say that, I am only one person. If other people aren't doing anything, what's the point of me doing anything? To them, climate change is a vast and abstract idea that often makes they feel powerless. Second, participants often examine their daily behavior when talking about climate change. Like, if I turn on the air conditioning too often, am I doing any harm to the earth? Some of them know roughly what to do, but they struggle to change their behaviors. Third, all participants expressed the lack of more specific solutions for them to actually do something for climate change. Although young people know it's a problem, they don't really know how to contribute personally. To understand how climate change framing could affect young people's perception, we showed them videos that contains 3 different frames from the website Connect for Change. Interestingly, how young people in this research respond to different framing is related to their pre-existing perception of climate change. After seeing runaway science frame, young people linked the frame with a sense of helplessness they felt about climate change. This either makes them feel more powerless or annoyed. For morality and ethics frame, young people are forced to focus on the responsibility. Some express guilt because they didn't do anything, while some feel disconnected to the message because they think they've done something. Finally, for the video with social progress frame, all participants respond positively. As the frame takes a proactive stance to solve climate change, the sense of helplessness and guilt reduce. Instead, participants drew their attention to what they can do to address climate change, not whether they have that ability or not. This suggests that the framing could affect how people think about climate change. The first 2 frames could reinforce the sense of helplessness, and social progress frame could mitigate the guilt and sense of helplessness and empower young people to search for solutions. In short, if you want to make a climate change video, it should be creative, proactive and offering specific solutions. All in all, climate change is not simply about polar bear or ice melting, it is about how different parts of our world depend on and connect to each other. We should know that media content often gives only a piece of the world that we live in. To understand climate change, only a piece is not enough. You need to embrace more information and others' experiences to see the entire world. Together humans could make the Earth the best habitat for every living beings.